Welcome back to another Creepypasta Storytime, where I not only tell you some of the scariest stories ever known to humankind, but also, question my life decisions as well, once the video is over. Truly, it's a magical segment, and since it's almost fall, it's important that I warm up, so to speak, because there are more stories to come in the fall. Spooky Finger Puppet Ghost Month and whatnot. And with that in mind, we're just going to go ahead and hop right into this quote-unquote story. Real spooky story about a game that might be bootlegged or might be hacked and could also be pirated because that was mentioned in the story. Author can't seem to decide, but author also loves long words. So let's not put it off any longer and just hop right into the thrilling tale known only as The Legend of Zelda Bootleg / hacked. One of my all-time favorite video games ever is unquestionably Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, which is a coincidence because I was just about to interrogate the author about what their favorite Super Nintendo Entertainment System video game was. But ever since I was a youngster, I'd play the hell out of it, collecting rupees, slaying bad guys, solving puzzles. You get the idea. No, I don't. Keep going about basic gameplay elements. I really want to hear you talk about them. And although I love the game, I also thought it had a few bizarre and even frightening factors. Regardless, I still love that game to death. In addition to being such an avid fan of the game, I'm also a fan of retro video games. Oh, I sense a douche. Nowadays, I just can't seem to enjoy video games the way I previously did. That sounds like a personal problem. A lot of them nowadays are all cheap knockoffs of each other, like FPS games, for instance. Am I right, guys? High five? Anyway, as I said, I love old school video games. I primarily played Nintendo as a kid. Unfortunately, I had broken my original Super Nintendo many years ago, and at the time, I had no idea how to download an emulator. The internet is complicated, alright? I became upset because even in my youth, I loved 8-bit and 16-bit video games. Did I tell any of you that I like retro video games? Because if I haven't, I'm really going to drive that home as the story goes on. Nowadays, though, I can play or watch an old video game with the typing of a few keys and the click of a mouse. Ooh. But there's one game that I would absolutely not, and not is italicized, so you know that it probably has no significance to this overall story at all. But not play if it wasn't for an old-fashioned gaming console. A Link to the Past. So wait, if I understand this correctly, you're both really into retro games and you just can't use those emulators. They gotta be on the original system. I hate you. Luckily for me, I had met a good friend of mine in 8th grade. His name was Ray, and he was into video games, comics, and movies. He, too, was a fan of retro video games, but in parentheses, and modern ones, but don't ask me as to why he likes them. You know, the author seems not retro video game-ist, which is a term I'm gonna coin right now. Way to go, you bigot. And had a working Super Nintendo. Okay, so just say he has a working Super Nintendo, and let's not dissect his gaming preferences, you asshole. About a few months back, Ray and I finished our college semester, and 1 second, you met Ray in the 8th grade, so in the last paragraph, we were in the 8th grade, and now we're in college. And you expect me to believe that you somehow made it from 8th grade to college? I don't believe you. I'm starting to think this entire story might not be real. Anywho, though, we wanted to celebrate our fake college semester being over. Woo! We both attended a community college. That's very impressive. Thank you for putting it in the story. And we were both majoring in difficult subjects. They were so difficult. Let me tell you something. I can't tell you what they were, but they were hard. Trust me. So it's only natural, what with our difficult subjects, that we have a little fun after such an arduous 3 months. Arduous, that doesn't sound like a creepypasta word. Long, difficult, those are simple words. Those go in a creepypasta. Save that for an essay that you would write at community college. I inquired that we go over to his house and play a few classic games. Author back on his bullshit. So we did, and I couldn't wait to get my hands on A Link to the Past. The only problem was that Ray didn't have it. That modern game-loving bastard, he would do something like this. Regardless, we still played the shit out of all the classics. Super Mario World, Mortal Kombat, and in parentheses, despite not having the blood we've come to know and love. Author's really into blood, nothing wrong here, everyone move along. Donkey Kong's Country 1, 2, and 3, Killer Instinct, Super Castlevania 4, Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. Why isn't Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy 6 or Earthbound on this list, you son of a bitch? And all those 16-bit gems. I'm assuming those 3 games were 16-bit gems. But the urge to play ALTTP was still burning within me. Burning so much that I couldn't spell every word out. I had to abbreviate it. I'm burning up inside. The next morning, I suggested we go to our local comic book shop and we purchase a copy of it. He eagerly agreed. He's a follower, that Ray. I'm not much into comics, but let me tell you. Oh, the author's gonna tell me something. They had a treasure trove of comics. Who would have thought the comic store sold comics? But also video games, action figures, posters, and various other paraphernalia. Paraphernalia is not a word that goes in a creepypasta. There's too many syllables in that word. Do you have a thesaurus? Anyways, I saw that they had an enormous library of SNES games, and in parentheses, along with Genesis, Atari 2600, and Nintendo 64 games, and for sure, ALTTP was among them. I scanned the shelves slowly with my index finger, and then, voila, I found it. It was another language. Also, I pulled it off the shelf and took a look at it. There was a sticker underneath the sticker that displayed the game's title. It said, used, in all capital letters, but I couldn't read that. In all honesty, though, I hate purchasing used products. Hold on a second. You pride yourself on how much you love retro video games. Typically, video games that are not in print anymore. But you cannot stand to get a used video game. You, as a person, logically make no sense whatsoever. I hate you so much right now. I can't words. Damn it. But anyways, stickers. I hate purchasing used products, especially something as cherished as this. Why, a copy of A Link to the Past, physical, without box. Or with box, I don't even care. That could run you like, what, $50? It's precious, goddammit. Anyways, I tried to find another copy that didn't have these dirty, filthy stickers on them that didn't say anything at all. But to my chagrin is not a creepypasta. Stop using the thesaurus. So, I settled for the used copy. I wasn't going to let something as petulant? What creepypasta uses the word petulant? Who are you? Anyways, as a game being used get in the way of me having hours of fun, but I will let emulation get in the way of hours of fun, because that's where I draw the line. Stickers, though, those are okay. We both got to Ray's house, and I popped it into the SNES cartridge slot, as opposed to hitting the SNES in the side with the cartridge and wondering why it didn't go. Before we began playing, though, he went downstairs to go snatch us some snacks and soda. I pulled the game out of the slot and examined the game's cartridge. It looked normal enough, no signs of damage, and it was in fairly good condition. That is, except for these motherfucking stickers. When I turned it around, the text on the back of the cartridge informing the player as to how to clean the cartridge and how to properly use it in case they were stupid was written backwards. Cliche. You can't get more cliche than backwards text. Was there a pentagram on the back of the game too? I bet it was spooky. But it was still legible if it was held up to a mirror. But the mirror was haunted too. Then I died. Anyways, but why would anyone do that? Why would anyone read this story is something I ask myself sometimes, mostly right now. And then I turned it around to inspect the front. There was no official seal of Nintendo on it. And that's when I thought, this might be a bootleg / pirated version of the game. The idea got me a little pissed off, since I wanted to play the original. But, I decided I was jumping to conclusions too early. After all, there's at least another half of this story left. We can jump to conclusions later. And I hadn't even played the game yet. So, Ray came back and I momentarily forgot about the backwards text and the lack of official seals. What, did you have a memory lapse? And I popped it into the console, and then I soon forgot about that as well. Who's Ray? We both sat in eager anticipation, though, since he too was a big fan of this game. Then, that familiar Nintendo Presents flashed on screen with the little rupee sound, and I grew excited. But then, my excitedness, I don't think that's a word. But my excitedness, or maybe it's a word, I don't give a shit, quickly descended into frustration as the screen suddenly displayed an array of pixels and exotic colors all over the screen. It seemed the game had glitched up in the process. I rolled my eyes and took out the cartridge. I can't believe the cartridge would pull this kind of shit. I blew on it. I just wanted to tell everyone about that, hoping that would get rid of the cause of the glitching. Because that's science. If you blow into a cartridge, that fixes the glitching. It's in the science books. I popped the cartridge back in and turned it on once again. Stop saying again. The Nintendo Presents logo appeared, only this time the rupee sound clip had a lower pitch. Oh snap, everyone get out your cliches of Creepypasta special note cards that I'm pretending you all have because we just got lower pitched. I arched my eyebrow. I don't know if Ray noticed it. Noticed what? The game or how you arched your eyebrow? But I assumed he didn't, since he didn't say anything, and Ray always says stuff when I arch my eyebrow. Then, the primitive three-dimensional triangles that would form the Triforce behind the logo began rotating their way towards the middle of the screen, except the little tune that played when they did was playing backwards, distorted, and glitchy. That's 3 cliches in one. Congrats, author. I turned to Ray and said, "What the hell's going on?" He just shrugged and said, "Maybe the game's a little old." Fuck you, Ray. You're not helping at all. This game is haunted with ghosts. You think it's old? Get out of my house. Or your house. I live here now. I figured, though, that he was probably right. After all, it was a used cartridge. There were stickers on the box. I remember it. When the Triforce had formed, the sword came down and made the sheathing sound, except the heroic fanfare did not play. Instead, there was no music at all. No music, that's another cliche. Write it down. Interestingly, underneath the title, where it's supposed to say A Link to the Past, there was nothing but a mess of glitched pixels. That actually was not interesting at all. Thank you for wasting my time. Now, this was getting weird. I pressed start and everything was smooth on the file creation screen. I wrote down my name, whatever it is, and I started the game. But still, there was no music to be heard. The familiar darkness and bird's eye view of the room came on, showing Link asleep in his bed and his uncle sitting at the table doing who knows what. Then, some text appeared on screen, like the original, but it wasn't the text I remember. It said, "Help me, ... Please help me, ... Don't let this happen to me, ... Then the text disappeared. Now, I already knew something was wrong when that happened. Zelda's message was not supposed to say that. Sure, it had been a long time since I had played the game, but I don't remember her ever saying that, especially with those dots. Now, I was certain this was a hack or a bootleg or something. I couldn't decide when I was writing the story. Just pick one of those and go with it. Ray said, "What the hell? She's never said that." Ray really adding a lot to this conversation. Thanks, Ray. Couldn't have done it without you. I agreed, though, and made my suggestion of it being a hack/bootleg. He said, "That sucks. Why am I friends with you? Why are you friends with him?" I'm starting to think Ray sucks. I figured that even if it wasn't the original, it still might be kind of cool. You were pissed about it a couple of paragraphs ago. Make up your mind, please, for the love of God. Anyways, he agreed, so we let it go on. But of course Ray would agree, wouldn't he? Around here, I was expecting the screen to brighten up, and then from my uncle. He's my uncle. He's not your uncle. Anyone else who thought he was there, he's not even Link's uncle. He's my uncle now. But my uncle, to tell me to stay in bed. But no, the room remained dark and he said, "Don't move a muscle. You've done enough damage already. Look at this story." Anyways, and then while still in the dark, he marched outside with his sword and shield. The music did not start either. I could still hear the rain outside, but that's it. Then Link hopped out of bed. I moved the D-pad around. I don't know why, it only fits in that one spot on the controller, but just for fun, I moved it around a little bit. Everything seemed functional though. I went over to lift up the pots, but the game didn't seem to respond. I tried every button, but nothing worked. I then noticed that the treasure wasn't in the room, the one with the torch/lantern. This was very weird. I then decided I'd better leave the house. Interestingly, the last time he said this, it wasn't interesting, so he's on notice. The house never lit up. It stayed dark throughout the duration of everything. That was not interesting either. You lost me again, 2 times. I then walked outside, and there was that familiar rain and thunder. I walked outside. You said that 2 times in a row. I walked outside. There, I added a 3rd. Everything seemed normal, and I approached those guards that barricade the path when you first go exploring. I approached one of them, and all he said was, "This is a sad night." Get it? Because I'm a knight? It's puns, right? And anyways. And the next line of text was Bizarre Halayan, writing that you need the Book of Medora to translate. I spoke to the other one, and he said there was nothing we could have done to prevent it, but you could have, random child, I assume I don't know. And that was all he said. I said to Ray, "Man, what the hell is going on here?" "No idea," said Ray, the perplexed one. I added that part. "Pretty crappy bootleg so far. This is the 2nd time Ray has said that this game was crappy." Ray represents someone who knows no words, while the author is just a walking dictionary. I think that's what life is trying to teach us. But I agreed, it was crappy. This was weird, and I had no idea just what the hell everyone in this game was talking about. Did someone die or something? That's what it sounds like, but that couldn't possibly be the answer. I mean, that would be expected. So I decided to go north, to fall into the hole where you obtained your sword and shield from your uncle. I went up there, and suddenly the screen became very glitchy. Oh god, this glitchy bootleg game becoming more glitchy. That's unexpected. I didn't see that coming. Trees were out of place. Alright. And some trees and water from the dark world seemed to be crossed with the light worlds and stuff. Look, I've played Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past competitively, and that was some technical terminology that probably went over most of your all heads. But, yeah, and stuff. I walked forward, and suddenly, and stuff. I fell into an invisible hole. Suddenly, Link fell into this path that resembled the location where you received the Master Sword from the pedestal in the Lost Woods, except the colors, more or less, made it look more like the Skull Woods in the Dark World. And for the first time, there was music. It was that eerie little haunting tune that played in the sanctuary, the one that plays after you rescue Zelda from Hyrule Castle. I slowly turned to Ray, curious if he was getting as weirded out as I was. Indeed he was. I bet Ray is actually imaginary and not a real person. I'll put money on that. This was certainly, though, turning out to be an extraordinary bootleg, and in parentheses, if I could call it that at this point. This was an extraordinary, spooky ghost. Wore a scary white sheet, cut out eye holes. I was pretty spooked. Anyways, I pushed forward and walked up the forest path, only to see various denizens of Kakariko Village dotted on the sides of the grass. I approached one, and all she said was, "I hope you're satisfied." I'm not, as just heads up. I know you can't hear me, settler, but I don't feel very satisfied so far. I then approached another Kakariko villager. He said, "You'll get what you deserve for writing this creepypasta, young man." What the hell was going on here? It sounded as if they were all angry at me. People angry at you, the author, who's so awesome and amazing with your big words and syllables? I can't imagine that being the case. You seem so likable. But I then saw a villager who looked like a child. Alright, go on. I walked up to him, and he said, "You meanie, you'll pay for this, one way or another." Kids can be so mean, I know. Finally, there was one last guy standing up on the upper right-hand corner of the screen. I approached him, and he said, "We'll be better off without you, Neglector." Are you a supervillain, and that's your name? You're the Neglector? You neglected to write a good story, so kudos. Just to be sure they didn't say anything else, I went back and spoke to everyone there. No, they all uttered the same melancholy lines. Another word that doesn't belong in this story. Who would do all of this crap? I bet it was Ray. It didn't make any sense, though. I moved up and the screen shifted north, because that's how these games work. And then I saw Zelda in what appeared to be a casket. Gee, I wonder if someone died. She had the same sprite as when she's laying there and getting transported by him. I've never heard that pronounced before, sorry. But suddenly, a text box appeared saying, "This is all because of you." Way to go, author. Jerk. When it disappeared, I was free to roam the area. I approached Zelda's coffin, the story can go in like one of a couple of directions, and one of them is real icky. But I couldn't interact with it in any way, and that's really for the best. We avoided the worst case scenario. Moving on. So I just walked around the place thinking of what to do next. Ray then said, maybe you should try going back. Why didn't Ray suggest maybe we should do something else? That, of course, being a foolish question to ask myself, because Ray doesn't have a mind of his own. But, well, that seemed like the only logical thing left to do, so I decided to head back down to where I came, when all of a sudden another text box appeared saying, I don't think so. Who could this be? Yuriofwind said, not knowing. And Link turned around himself without me pressing anything, as if the game made him to. I tried to do it again, but the same thing occurred. Just then, the music stopped abruptly. The music started at some point? Is this story so bad that I'm forgetting what's happening in the story while reading the story? If so, good job. And suddenly, the screen began shaking, and Zelda's casket fell inside a hole that was formed from the earthquake. There was an earthquake? When it did, though, some scary music played. That's pretty scary, doesn't everyone think so? Stickers. The same music from where you defeat Ogheim, and Ganondorf turns into a bat and flies away. Suddenly, there was a large crater there. Not knowing what to do, I jumped inside of it. Because, when I'm walking down the street and I see a large crater just kind of appear, one of my first instincts is to just hop on inside. See what's going on inside there. Understand more about myself by getting to understand more about my surroundings. Next thing I knew, I was in the area with two narrow parallel walls on both sides of me that were gray-black color. That's exciting, I can see those colors. Also, there was shallow red water on the ground. Oh, red water. I bet it's blood. That was colored like that, I presume, to resemble blood. What did I just say before I read that? I walked up to the hall and came to a dead end. The only thing left was a telepathic tile. I'm sorry, did I read that wrong? A telepathic tile. Okay. That was on the wall in front of me and on the sides. There were some doors, but they were sealed shut. They were the kind you needed to open with a switch or after defeating a few enemies. Anyways, I directed my attention towards the telepathic tile. I went over and tried to communicate with it. I too try to communicate with tiles, like kitchen tiles, but it just gave me that Hawaiian text. Basically, it just left me there without giving me any clues as to what I should do to proceed. And then I remembered that not once had I pressed pause and checked my inventory. A rookie mistake. I did, and interestingly, third time that he said this, will it actually be interesting? I had the Book of Mudora already. I have no idea as to how I got it. Perhaps the hacker or programmer had already given it to me at the start of the game, or perhaps it's a plot device and it's bullshit and this wasn't interesting either, so never mind. Well, I did the only rational thing I thought I could do. I equipped it and translated the text. Interestingly, it gave me a choice. It asked, do you feel guilty? Yes. No. I heard Ray read it aloud, because I couldn't read it for myself, and I turned to him. He shrugged his shoulders and said, say no. So I did. All I heard was the sound signifying that I had done something incorrect. Damn it, Ray, you've doomed us all. This creepypasta is going to go on forever now. So, I pulled out the book again, and it asked me the same thing. This time I answered yes, and all of a sudden, those two doors on the side opened, and then Dozens upon dozens of soldiers poured into the room. They all approached Link and began attacking him repeatedly. It didn't take long for him to die, since he only had 3 hearts. Then, Link spun around and he collapsed onto the floor, as he usually does when he dies. I feel like this was a setup by the author, or Ray, to get Link killed. I'm onto your plan. Instead of giving me a choice if I wanted to continue, the game suddenly took me to what appeared to be the Dark World's version of Death Mountain. I walked forward, and all of a sudden I saw an unfamiliar character sprite. If anything, it looked like the hackers modified Ganon's sprite to appear red and gave him a few extra features, like devil horns. He was also holding that trident spear, except it was shaded black. Do not tell me you turned Ganon into the devil. Literally devil. Don't follow this paragraph up by implying that. Please. Next paragraph. It looks like he was made to resemble Satan. Damn it! So I approached Satan-like sprite Ganon, and he spoke to me when I got close enough. He said, "Your punishment is long overdue." Do you like my Halloween costume? What do you think? Suddenly, he began spinning his lance around, and I couldn't move. Just then, a laser beam shot out from the lance. Satan, known far and wide for his ability to fire laser beams. Pay attention. That was mode 7. Anyways. But yeah, I got shot with a laser beam. Don't ask how. Satan, you know. Killing Link instantly. Instead of the screen turning black and Link just lying there, the entire screen turned red. And Link's sprite suddenly turned completely black. And that was it. The game just froze there. Nothing moved or anything like that. Nothing interesting happened or anything like that. I pressed every button, but nothing happened. You can say nothing happened as much as you want, but that doesn't mean that something happened. I turned to Ray, though. I needed moral support, so I turned to my good buddy, Ray, and we just shrugged. I took the game out of the SNES, not even gonna restart it and try it again. Just, this was a one-off situation. It'll probably never happen again. Stickers. And just looked at it one last time. And that was when I noticed that the game had no circuit board inside. I'm pretty sure the game wouldn't run if it didn't have a circuit board on the inside of it. But how is that even possible? Author asked, as if he didn't plan this from the start. I called Ray over to examine this. In parentheses, he's always been much more savvy about old game hardware and into disassembling stuff like old gaming consoles, television, radios, etc. I need a second opinion as to whether or not this thing has a circuit board. Ray, get over here! But I knew right away something wasn't right. I popped the game back into the console to see if it would work again. You should have done that before. But this time, all it gave me was that glitchy screen like last time. I tried again and again, but it all went in vain. The next morning, Ray disassembled the cartridge and discovered there was indeed no circuit board inside the cartridge. It was just a shell, a spooky shell, a ghost in the shell, some might say. He then reassembled it and we tried again and again, but to no avail. The game had never given us what it originally did that first night. That first passionate night. I'll never forget it, what the game gave us. It was syphilis. But how it functioned that night, we'll never know. And I think it functioned on pure imagination. But not a creative imagination, like a boring one. But that was the Legend of Zelda Bootleg / hacked, because we couldn't decide, although it might also be pirated, and actually you could lay a white sheet over the game and cut out eye holes and just write Ghost on the sheet. And I would also accept that as a possible identity for this story or game or whatever. Whatever is my ultimate takeaway. I learned something today. I learned using big words will not make your story better. No matter how big the words, no matter how many syllables you find, that doesn't help at all. And it's with that in mind that I say we cut our losses right here, because I have an end slate to record. So I'll see you next time. Or wait, yeah, I'll see you next time on Bullshit Creepypasta Storytime. I'm all screwed up in the head because of this now. Thanks, story. Welcome one and all back to End Slate, the segment where it isn't well, actually it is a segment, but it's mostly that part after the video ends where the video keeps on going. You thought it was over, but it's not. Yeah, 2 videos this month. That's a step up from the 1 video the last month or the month before that. I'm trying to gear up for the fall because I got plans, which I plan on detailing for patrons sometime in September. But I got plans for September and October and November and kind of December. I'm still working on December. Anyways, hey, I hope you enjoyed the new Bullshit Creepypasta Storytime. So if you did and you want to like the video or share it or subscribe or click on that stupid bell or do any of the things that people usually ask other people to do when you watch the video on YouTube, that's greatly appreciated. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. No obligations. Still, hope you enjoyed the video. This was only estimated to be about 20 minutes, so when it went over 20 minutes, I'm starting to think I'm jinxing myself going into stories, going, oh, this will be like 15 minutes, and then I'm sitting there for like 44 minutes. So I don't know what's going on there. Still though, hope you enjoyed the story. Other stuff, social media stuff. I have a Patreon. If you like my videos and you wanna, I just slap my leg. If you like my videos and you wanna support me on Patreon, see if we can hit that. The remake of Sonic.exe for Halloween. I don't know. But yeah, if you want to support me on there, that's a thing. I have Twitch. I stream. I don't advertise my streaming very well, but I do, in fact, stream. I have a Twitter where I post about Kamen Rider a ton. And I have a Facebook, which I remember sometimes. Hi, Facebook. I remember you sometimes. And Nico does the art, even though I don't use much of the art anymore. But he still technically did it. And I think that's it for stuff I plug at Enslate. That's something I'm still working on. I don't remember Enslate. I just remember the rambling. But one thing I'll never forget is the thanking. Oh yes, because I'm about to do some serious thinking as I click over here to this other screen. Here we go. Not even gonna edit that out. And so I'm gonna click again. With much heartfelt thanks, I would like to thank Skinny720, Deshaun Lewis, aka Shadow Wolf 720. That's 2 720s. That's like skateboarding. Thank you again, Shadow, by the way. Side note. Thank you, Queen Sapphire and Snooper. Thank you, Lily Starflame and Mr. Mohawk, Josh Harper, Blinker002, John Garcia, Joseph Almodovar. That sounds close. Maybe. Vegeta's Mustache. May it rest in peace. Thank you, Ragnar the Green. Ragnar runs the Discord. I have a Discord also. I probably should have mentioned that, but it's too late now. Thank you, Bradley Harder and Aria, Mark Ryan. Thank you, Kubel Ryder. Thank you, Kevin Reagan, Michael Holder II, Airman. You're so difficult to defeat, even to this day. E-Tanks. Nikki Layman, Nolan, Christina, Crunchy Face. Thank you, Fernando Silva. TDSL IG. I still can't pronounce that. I don't think you can. Thank you, Fun Lunde. That was fun to say, but I don't know if I said it right. If I said it wrong, it's like a term of endearment or something like that. It means I love you. Thank you, D-Man. Love you. Hope all is well. Seriously, I have no idea what's going on, so I hope you're doing well. Thank you, Louis Pierre Armand. Thank you, Camamon. Thank you, S. That's S. Thank you, S. That's the easiest. I can remember that. Thank you, S. Thank you, the Club Rocker, the Prince of Ravens, GJR78. Sounds like a Gundam. Thank you, the Sick White Tiger. Hope you're doing well, Sick White Tiger. No, you're not sick. Thank you, Andy Devora, Lily Bunny, Scott Labar. There's a smudge on my monitor. Dez, aka is that so. Thank you, Lucas and Antonio and Guano. This text is so goddamn small. Thank you, Sean Carter and Justice Thompson, Rad R and Nikki Batelli, Andrew Silverman, Zachary Alexander, Michael P, Elfree684. Thank you, Link5 the Third. Sure. Thank you, Jameson Wiley, Friend Carrick, John Paul Hoare, Mitchell Shore. Oh, right, that rhymes. Abdul Kareem Torres. That doesn't rhyme, but it would have been cool if it did. The Wheels on the Bus Go Die. Thank you. Thank you, Greg Wolf and Mr. Bowler and M Gamers and Mio Kuroshima. Screwed that up. Escape Route British. I'm just going to stick with that and hope it's right. Thank you, Kenpachi Ramasama, Anthony Mang, Eric Camacho, Jacob Epler, Sexy and Slate Rambles. When are they not? Problematic. Fourth time's the try. Fourth time's the charm. And sometimes it's the try. It really depends on how you look at life. And thank you, everyone who supports me on Patreon for some reason. I'm eternally grateful to all of you. How long did this go on for? Almost 7 minutes. Someone's going to be upset, but luckily, since the rest of the video was like 34 minutes or something like that, that should offset it just a bit. Still, thank you all for watching the video. I hope you all enjoyed it. I'll see you again sooner rather than later, next month. And I hope you enjoy the videos I have planned coming up for the fall, as well as Spooky Finger Puppet Ghost Month, all that happy stuff and stuff. So until next time, this has been Yuriofwind. This has been Bullshit Creepypasta Storytime. Have a nice day. Hope you enjoyed the video. Love you all, and stay safe out there in this thing we call the world. Oops, not split. Bye, everyone.